Today is Thursday, February 20th. We're talking about how the U.S. and Ukraine went from being key allies to pointing fingers. Also, President Trump is expanding his power, and temperatures have hit more record lows. Plus, what a report found about America's readiness for the World Cup and Olympics. All about Microsoft's scientific breakthrough and a new budget iPhone that supports artificial intelligence. Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Tensions are rising between the U.S. and Ukraine as arguments play out publicly between President Trump and his Ukrainian counterpart. It started earlier this week when we told you Trump met with Russia's President Putin about ending the war without inviting Ukraine. And Trump accused Ukrainian President Zelensky of starting the war in the first place. Well, Zelensky responded yesterday to say Trump was living in a, quote, web of disinformation. Hours later, Trump posted on Truth Social. He called Ukraine's president a dictator without elections who took money from the U.S. to go to war with Russia and has, quote, done a terrible job. Trump also made the case that Ukraine's future security won't be America's problem, saying, quote, we have a big, beautiful ocean as separation. Ukrainian leaders admit it will be tough to keep defending itself without American support. Meanwhile, Russia's President Putin praised the Trump administration yesterday. He said he appreciated how, unlike with past American leaders, the Trump team did not criticize Russia's actions. To be clear, the White House doesn't say it's chosen a new side. And one of President Trump's new diplomats is in Ukraine's capital now to talk about possible ways to end the war. We're planning a bigger conversation about all of this for this weekend's special edition Saturday episode, so be sure to tune in. Migrants recently deported from the U.S. are now living in a detention camp on the outskirts of the jungle near the Darien Gap. As the New York Times reports, conditions are primitive. Diseases are endemic to the region, and the camp is reportedly overrun with animals. The government is not allowing journalists or aid organizations in, but the Times cites sources who say the migrants, including 8 children, are now sitting on the floor in fenced cages. Panama leaders have explained, saying the migrants are being held there for their own protection and are being taken care of, getting food, water, and medical attention. They were part of a group of about 300 people who arrived in the U.S. hoping to seek asylum. At first, they were taken to a luxury hotel in Panama City. But even there, girls were seen holding pieces of paper to the windows with messages that read things like, please help us. To be clear, none of these migrants are from Panama, and the government there says none of them have criminal records. Instead, they're from places like Afghanistan, Iran, and China, where it's not easy for the U.S. to send deportation flights. So Panama accepted a White House request to take them in as part of the Trump administration's efforts to ramp up deportations. And now that they're there, the migrants are no longer subject to U.S. law. They're considered Panama's responsibility. But human rights groups say they worry the migrants could be mistreated. Similarly, a group of migrants, including some from Central Asia and India, are being sent to Costa Rica today. Others who have agreed are being flown home. Back in Washington, President Trump has given himself more control over agencies that have, until now, acted with autonomy. We're talking about the Federal Election Commission, Federal Communications Commission, FTC, SEC, and more. Well, this week, President Trump signed an executive order that says the agencies need to start submitting regulations to the White House for review. Then the White House will be able to block agencies from spending on projects or efforts if they go against Trump's priorities, even if Congress has okayed the money already. The new order also keeps independent agencies from taking legal positions different from those of President Trump. These actions are expected to be challenged in court. By the way, other agencies are still getting word of mass job cuts. For example, President Trump told the Justice Department to get rid of any U.S. attorneys who were hired during the Biden administration. He says it's necessary to restore trust in America's justice system. Most have already either resigned or received their termination letters. President Trump is now likening himself to a king on social media as he moves to end congestion pricing in New York City. He wrote, quote, Manhattan and all of New York is saved. Long live the king. Then the official White House account shared the quote with a picture of Trump wearing a crown in front of the New York City skyline. Well, New York's governor did not take to that well. She pointed out how Manhattan's congestion pricing has cut traffic and improved commuting times. Then said, quote, we are a nation of laws, not ruled by a king. King mentions aside, the White House says the move is still justified. The Transportation Department took back its approval of the recently launched tolling system that was given under the Biden administration. The system charges most drivers $9 to travel at peak hours in the congestion pricing zone. But Trump's team's problem with it is it doesn't offer drivers a toll-free option to get into Lower Manhattan, among other things. Either way, New York officials say they'll keep enforcing the rules until a court tells them otherwise. More than 200 cold weather records could be broken around the U.S. The bitter cold that's mostly been hanging over central states this week is expected to stay at least through the rest of the week. And in that time, new records could be set from the plains to the Gulf Coast and from the Canadian border to the Mexican border. So far, the coldest temperature in the Arctic wave was recorded in North Dakota, 45 degrees below zero, and the winds made it feel even colder. By this morning, it could feel below zero as far south as San Antonio, Texas. Ice and snow have also been causing issues for Americans from the Midwest into the Mid-Atlantic. Roads have been littered with crashes and thousands of flights have been canceled or delayed. And even more snow is falling in the East Coast this morning. Extra road crews and power crews are on hand in several states, hoping to help minimize the damage. We have more news for you still coming up. But first, a quick break to thank our sponsor, Honeylove. I'm a fan of Honeylove for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, their products are great. Shapewear that is designed to move with you, no rolling up and down while you're trying to hit the dance floor or even just walk around. And I actually like the design of this shapewear. Honeylove shapewear is perfect for any special event. And you know I love their leggings, too, for my everyday wardrobe. Great fabric, convenient pockets, perfect waist support and fit. But there's also the company that I appreciate. It's a female-founded brand designed by women who actually wear the products to know they're good. And their messaging and products are always inclusive of different types of bodies. So treat yourself to the best bras, shapewear, and leggings on the market. Save 20% off Honeylove at honeylove.com/newsworthy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/newsworthy to find your perfect fit. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you've heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Elevate your comfort, elevate your style with Honeylove. Now back to the news. America's travel system is not ready for big sporting events coming up in the next few years. At least that's according to a nonprofit group that represents the travel industry. The U.S. Travel Association put out a report this week that points out aging infrastructure, sluggish visa processing times, and outdated security technology. And it says all that could be a problem for visitors and national security. Tens of millions of people are expected to come to the U.S. for the 2026 FIFA World Cup and 2028 Summer Olympics and Paralympics, as well as other events. So the report suggests the White House lead a task force on this issue, create an expedited visitor visa process, and modernize airport security. So far, no comment from the Trump administration, but the nonprofit group says they are in talks. As Elon Musk works to cut what he considers wasteful federal spending, he's been turning his attention to Social Security benefits. He and President Trump have said tens of millions of dead people are still receiving checks, and they cited data from the agency's own system. The last acting head of the Social Security Administration resigned earlier this week, saying she was worried about a non-elected official examining the data. And then yesterday, the person who replaced her said Musk and Trump have misread it. He believes they're referring to people in the records who have a Social Security number, but no date of death associated with it, so it looks like people who are 200, even 300 years old are still in the system. But the new Social Security leader says that's not to say they're actually getting benefits. In fact, the administration has a rule that automatically stops payments when people are older than 115 years old anyway. But the data is apparently misleading. And just last year, the Social Security Administration's watchdog said there needed to be a new system to properly annotate death information in the database. The agency decided not to update things because the cost to do so would run upward of $9 million. Now, the Social Security Administration's new leader says the agency is committed to transparency, while the Department of Government Efficiency, aka DOGE, continues to comb through its systems. Microsoft has announced a scientific breakthrough. The tech giant says in its quest to make a powerful quantum computer, it's created a new state of matter that's not solid, liquid, or gas, and it's been able to control it. So using that state of matter, they built what's known as topological qubit. It's a combination of a semiconductor and a supercomputer. And Microsoft believes it will help speed the development of batteries, medicines, artificial intelligence, and more. Some leading academics say quantum computers like what Microsoft is describing won't be fully realized for decades. But the tech giant scientists say their methods are going to help them reach the finish line sooner. Already, this is Microsoft's longest-running research project. It's been going since the early 2000s. Google also has a team dedicated to quantum computing and is seen as Microsoft's main competitor in the space. Apple debuted the budget version of its latest iPhone this week. It's called the iPhone 16e. and it's now the cheapest iPhone Apple sells that supports artificial intelligence. So users will be able to do things like make emoji and images with a prompt, summarize notifications, and remove objects from photos. ChatGPT will be integrated within Siri. This is also the first iPhone with a cellular modem designed in-house that's supposed to save more battery power. And if all goes to plan, users should not notice any other changes to how their iPhone works. Still, there are some differences between this budget model and the fully equipped iPhone 16. For example, the iPhone 16e doesn't have the dedicated second camera or magnetic wireless charging, but the iPhone 16e costs $600 as compared to $900 for the original. The lower-cost version will be available to buy at the end of this month. Meanwhile, both Google and Samsung have been updating Android devices with new AI features too, and they're both expected to debut new models in the spring. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, a quick break for our sponsor. The human body is an amazing thing. It can repair and grow in ways that are still pushing the limits of what science can explain, even in 2025. At the same time, as you age, your body's natural healing and building processes slow down. I've already felt a difference myself. And while it's totally normal, that doesn't mean there's nothing we can do about it. A collagen supplement from Ancient Nutrition can help. Ancient Nutrition's mission is to create high-quality supplements that combine the best of ancient wisdom and modern science. Ancient Nutrition's multi-collagen advanced lean supplement contains 10 types of collagen from 10 real food-based sources. This formula is powered by clinically studied ingredients that promote fat loss and healthy weight management. Collagen can also reduce joint discomfort and improve the look and growth of your skin, hair, and nails. And it's really simple to use. I've been scooping some into my morning coffee or smoothie, and that's all it takes to get the benefits. Right now, Ancient Nutrition is offering 25% off your first order when you go to ancientnutrition.com/newsworthy. That's ancientnutrition.com/newsworthy for 25% off your first order. ancientnutrition.com/newsworthy. Now back to Thing to Know Thursday. The SS United States has a new mission. The largest passenger ship ever built in America is on its way to becoming the world's largest artificial reef. This is the same ocean liner that once ferried 4 presidents across the Atlantic. It also carried rich and famous people like Duke Ellington and Sylvia Plath, as well as immigrants setting out for new lives. But eventually, as more people chose air travel over ships, the SS United States was withdrawn from service. It left Philadelphia yesterday, where it's been rusting for decades. It's headed for the Gulf Coast, where workers will get it ready to be safely sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Officials in Florida are hoping it will become a standout among artificial reefs and become a signature diving attraction. Artificial reefs also provide services and habitat for marine life. A land-based museum nearby will be dedicated to the ship and its history. Well, thank you so much for listening today and making us part of your daily routines. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.